I'm known as generally a nervous person. In the morning before I go to work, I check to make sure that the stove is off, that the toaster is unplugged, that the coffee pot is off. When I back my car out of the garage in the morning, I really check to make sure that I actually did close that garage door. I've been known to get halfway to work and turn right around to make sure that that garage door was shut. Now, I've been accused of being a little OCD. I just think I'm being careful. This is a story about self-protection, about being safe and secure, self-preservation. I want you all to know that I was born and raised here in Detroit. And being a Detroiter means that you're strong, that you're resilient, that you are self-reliant, you've got a bit of grit, and I have been accused of being a tad defiant. I grew up in my formative years that in the 60s where there was tumultuous change, tremendous social change, particularly here in Detroit. That had a tremendous impact on me. On July 21st, 1973, I married my college sweetheart, who was from Grand Rapids. Yes, I blessed Grand Rapids with my presence. Subsequently, got divorced several years later from that man, but I stayed in Grand Rapids just to kind of make him mad. So I moved to Grand Rapids, and we moved into a brand new apartment complex on the northwest side of Grand Rapids. Settled in, was really going well. Well, the way I learned about Grand Rapids was to tape a map of the city on the dashboard of my car. For those of you who use GPS, maps are those things and paper things. And I used that to drive around to every school district office in the greater Grand Rapids area to try to find a teaching job. But you have to understand something. In 1973, there was a teacher glut. So it could be said that I started a little late, the beginning of August, in the midst of a teacher glut, to try to find a teaching position. Oh well. So imagine my surprise in the middle of September. I received a call from a superintendent of a school district who offered me a job. And the job was to be a substitute for a woman for a teacher who was having a baby and she was taking leave. I got a teaching job in the middle of the teacher glut. Amazing. Well, all that changed on September 25th. In the morning of that day, I went to Meijer, a Grand Rapids-based company. I went to Meijer and bought a lot of groceries. Now, I don't remember why I bought a lot of groceries. Perhaps we were having a party, but that little factoid has escaped me. So I had a lot of bags of groceries in the trunk of my car. So I grabbed 2 bags and started up the stairs to our third floor apartment. And I was passing the second floor landing, the guy who lived below us was sitting on the stairs and he was fiddling around with a serrated fishing knife. Didn't think anything of it. I know I said a few words of greeting to him. I don't remember what I said, but I do remember that he didn't acknowledge me. So all the way up, I went to the third floor, dropped those bags of groceries on the counter, came back down, trundled down those stairs, got 2 more bags of groceries. And as I passed the man on the stairs, he was still there. I walked up and by the landing right below our apartment, I felt this violent shove on my back. Well, the bags of groceries came out of my hands, spewed all over that landing, and I turned around and I realized that this man was stabbing me. Tried to get away. I just wanted to get away, but I couldn't. And we tumbled down a flight of stairs together to the next landing below. Concrete stairs at that. And he was on top of me, repeatedly stabbing me. I just wanted him to stop hurting me. So I was screaming, and that got him more agitated, and he said, "Just be quiet." And his mouth was open, and I took my hand and I dug my fingernails into the bottom of his mouth. A woman who lived on the first floor came out of her apartment to see what all the commotion was all about. And she looked up the stairs and she saw what it was all about, and she started wailing. The guy stood up and said to me, "I'm sorry." Walked off in the other direction and went out the apartment building. I crawled down the stairs, went across the parking lot, found a small patch of grass to lay down, collapse on, and in the distance I could hear the sirens of help coming toward me. The EMTs arrived and really started to aggressively work on me. I looked up in the eyes of one of the EMTs and I said, am I going to die? He was very kind, but he answered honestly, and he said, "I don't know." Several days later, as I was recovering in the hospital, those EMTs came to visit me, and I was ever so grateful to see those men who really, really saved my life. Well, after weeks of being in the hospital, 2 surgeries, I did recover. I'm sure that my young age at the time helped in that. I'm told I missed a beautiful fall season, the events that were unfolding in the Watergate scandal, and I missed my teaching job. Several months later, the trial arrived. And it was excruciating. I had to face my attacker, and I had to tell my story, which telling it back then was really raw and really difficult. The judgment came down that day that this guy was innocent by reason of insanity. And while I'm a little fuzzy on these details, I believe that in that era, that was one of the last times that judgment was made, but I believe it is back again. My family and friends surrounded me, and we walked out of the courtroom. And out of the corner of my eye, I could see my attacker's mother and father coming toward us. And I just said, "I can't do this. I just can't do this." And turned around, along with the entire entourage, and we went out another exit. Several weeks later, I was eating dinner with my then husband, and the phone rang. I answered the phone, and I could hear a man sobbing on the other end. It was the father. And he said as he was choking back the tears, "We are so sorry about what happened, about what our son did to you. We really want to help you. We really want to help cover some of the medical expenses." And all I could do was whisper into the phone, "No, no." And I handed the phone to my husband. He abruptly said to the father, "We don't want your help. Don't ever contact us again." My failure was not giving that mother and father the chance to have closure and healing that they so desperately needed. I have held this for 40 years. I was too young, too immature, and too inexperienced. I'm sure it took that dad hours and days and weeks to gather the strength to make that telephone call. He was just seeking closure, and days and weeks to gather the strength to make that telephone call. He was just seeking closure for what his son had done. So just like that garage door in the morning, where I close it and double check it to make sure that everything is safe and secure, I was unable to open that door to that father because I needed to feel safe.